In huge news at Upland, resident scores, they're already being calculated behind the scenes. That's right, we've turned them on, we're monitoring them, and the neighborhoods that are prepared, they're going to come out on top. Today, we're going to review the announcement where we talked about that this week, and I'll show you exactly what's happening, how it works, and what you need to be doing right now. Now, again, like we always do in these videos, we're just going over this at a 10,000 foot view. Make sure you go read it. I saw some comments from people that were like, oh, this announcement is pretty vague. That's insanity to me. If you think this announcement is vague, it's probably because you haven't read it. Make sure you go and read it. We literally are sharing with you what is in the detail, what is in the algorithm of the resident score. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not going to be questions and that we've answered everything here, but we're starting to unveil here what is coming with the resident score. There's nothing vague about this announcement at all. Don't be crazy. Go read the announcement. Check it out. Hopefully, I'm able to answer some questions for you today just as we go over this. But the big thing is resident score is now running behind the scenes. What does that mean? Well, number one, it's a huge milestone for us. It's not live yet, but we're tracking it behind the scenes. And when we turned this on, we were surprised to see, not surprised, happy and celebratory. We're excited. We're excited to see that there are 203,000 residents already inside of Upland being simulated. Now that number will grow as more living units are built. The way that it works is the resident count is always a percentage. Not every living unit gets filled with a resident. It's always a percentage of total global resident units in Upland. That means that neighborhoods and players are gonna have to compete to attract residents. That's just the reality of how it's gonna work. The best neighborhoods, the best players who are doing it right will get the most residents in their neighborhoods, in their structures, etc., etc. Service structures play a massive role in that. Now, here is where it breaks down and how it breaks down. There are two types of units that you need to be aware of. You can already see one of them in the game, and that is living units. So every living unit structure you have, for instance, townhomes, luxury ranch houses, micro houses, apartment buildings, etc., they have this number that you can see attached, and that is living units. That is how many uppies can live inside of my structure at once. Living units count in the algorithm that goes in the resident score. Now with service structure, we do have service units. Now you can't yet see these in the app, but these will come shortly. In the same way that you can see your living units, you're going to be able to see on each of your service structure, the service units. Now there's different types of service units that count. So an entertainment service structure like a movie theater gives you entertainment service units. That's how that works. Any questions on that? Comments, concerns? No? Okay, let's keep going. Here is the resident score parameters. Active home addresses are a huge part of what's going to help attract uppies to Upland. So if you've not set your home address yet, make sure you do so. That plays a big role in where uppies live. And then you can see we've got essential service units here. So there's a couple things taken into account. The total amount of service units that you have in a neighborhood. And also, you can see here, and that's what this illustrates, you can also see here the variety of service units for each of those. So you just can't have movie theaters for entertainment. Let's say you're competing. I'm building a neighborhood right now and I have a bunch of movie theaters. I'm like, yes, my uppies are entertained. They're going to move into my neighborhood here. They're going to move into my street. Well, the neighborhood across the way that's competing with me, they may have movie theaters and sports complexes and gyms and massage parlors, etc., etc. They've got a variety, and we've got the same entertainment score. They're going to win because they've got that variety. Variety is a big part of what matters here. We do not want, it doesn't make sense. No neighborhood in real life is the best neighborhood because it's got a million gyms, and that's all it has. It has nothing else. No, that doesn't make sense. And so that's how that works. Now, one thing that we mentioned in here, which is really interesting, is this will matter to attracting uppies in the future when the life feature drops, but greenery per living unit. What does that mean? That means how many parks, how many plants do you have planted in your neighborhood? How many trees? What kind? Is there a variety of trees? Is there a variety of plants? So life is also going to play a big part in in the resident score and in attracting uppies to residents. Anyways, this is the algorithm. This is what is going into it. Now, we don't break down the exact math here. We would be crazy to do that. No game is ever going to do that. But this gives you a good idea of what is coming and what you should be working towards and how you should be utilizing service units. One thing we really highlighted here is activity is key. Activity is huge. A dormant neighborhood, a dormant property is just not going to do as well as an active one. There are multipliers for being active, so make sure we're active. We then explain living units. I'm not going to go over that here, or per living unit, what that means. Come and read this. But I do want to focus on this. We gave 3 examples of neighborhoods, and we didn't name the neighborhood, we didn't name the specific neighborhood, largely because we're just monitoring this and we don't want to give any neighborhood an advantage or a disadvantage by naming them. But these are real neighborhoods in Upland. We called them neighborhood 1, 2, and 3. And we went over them, and we wanted to provide examples to you of how these neighborhoods are doing, what they're struggling with, and what the steps forward would be to improve this neighborhood. So in neighborhood 1, you can see that this neighborhood, again, this is a real neighborhood inside of Upland. This neighborhood has 8,397 residents, but it only has 19% occupancy. What does occupancy mean? That means how many of your residential buildings are filled with uppies, are filled with residents. They've got plenty of residents. This neighborhood's problem is that it's got plenty of residents, but the occupancy is low. They're not being filled up. Why is that? It's because they need a wider variety of service structures. They don't have enough service structures. Essential service structures, entertainment service structure, public services, employment, transportation. They need those in order to attract people. They've got the resident buildings, but they're not attracting the uppies. Service structures is why they have a lack of supporting service structures. Again, 8,397 residents are in this neighborhood, but only 19% of their residential buildings are occupied. They just don't have enough service structures. That's the reality there. Second neighborhood, again, this is a real neighborhood inside of Upland. This neighborhood has the opposite problem here. They have only 335 residents with a 98% occupancy. So all of their structures, all of their apartments, their micro houses, their ranch houses, et cetera, all of their residential buildings, they're full. They have a low amount of residents with high occupancy. So what is this problem? It's the opposite of what we just talked about. They don't have enough living units. They're able to attract uppies to their neighborhood, but they probably have more service structures than living units, honestly. So they need to build more living units. They can fill those up. They need to attract more uppies to their residents, and that would be the key. The key next move, start building more residential structures to increase your total living units. That's it. Again, this represents a real neighborhood in Upland. We're trying to illustrate what we're seeing behind the scenes, what neighborhoods need to do, and how you need to start thinking about these neighborhoods in order to succeed. Last neighborhood, you can see these have 3,500 residents, over 3,500 residents, and an 86% occupancy rate. This is it. This neighborhood is doing it correct. This is a real neighborhood in Upland. These are real numbers that we're using. They're doing it correctly. Keep doing what you're doing. That's their key next move. However, and we say this here in the key next move. However, you cannot get lax. You need to continue to add variety as service structures drop, as new things, because it's comparative. A lot of what goes into this is compared to how other neighborhoods are doing around you and in Upland overall. This is what they said. This is what we say. Residential loyalty can shift quickly if better options appear elsewhere. So this neighborhood's doing it correct. They're going to want to make sure they just stay on top of it and maintain. You can't become complacent. If you become complacent, you will lose residents. Residents will say, oh, you know what? This neighborhood was fantastic. This neighborhood sucks now. I'm going over across the street. Look at that neighborhood. I'm moving to that neighborhood. That's just how it works. And there you go. That is, again, this 10,000 foot view of exactly how resident score is going to look. It is turned on the backside. There's over 200,000 residents officially in Upland right now, at least on the back end. Sorry, that we're monitoring, not officially inside. It's not turned on inside. It's being simulated at the moment. So we list make sure you read this announcement. We list every parameter in the algorithm at this point. Go read them. Make sure you understand them if you wanna succeed. I did see someone say like, well, It's not my job to understand the algorithm here. It's my job. Name a game where I have to understand how to play to have fun. Have you played a game, bro? You gotta understand. You want to succeed in the game. You want to be the best at, let's throw out Call of Duty. You gotta understand what the best gun is to use. You gotta understand how it works together. You gotta understand the strategy. So come and read Resident Score Part 1. Do yourself a favor. Be informed and dominate. And we're seeing a lot of players just crushing it. I mean, you can see it. We already have some neighborhoods crushing it behind the scenes. So well done to everybody. This is just part 1. Part 2, we're going to show off top cities. We're going to show off top landlords. We're going to give you an example of who's doing what where, as examples of who's doing it right, to show off who's doing it right and what we're seeing behind the scenes. So make sure you prepare for residents when they come, when they open up officially inside of Upland. Build smart, work together, and make sure, again, you understand the gameplay here. It's all here in this post. If you have any questions, feel free to tag the community team. Feel free to write into support. You can always do that. That's going to do us for today, everybody. Hopefully you have enjoyed this. Hopefully this has been helpful. Have a great rest of your day. We'll see you inside Upland. Bye-bye, bye-bye.